Welcome, everyone, to the Power and Community podcast brought to you by Art of Me. We are a nonprofit organization that works with young people to share their stories and perspectives through writing, art, and film. It's your girl, Chanda, and I'm back with another awesome filmmaker, this time an actor and an overall storyteller by the name of Starr Rivers. Welcome to the podcast, Starr.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me today, Chanda.
Thank you for coming on. I'm so excited. Y'all, I keep bringing friends and family because I'm just reaching out to everybody that I know. And Starr is a part of that group of people that I do know that I keep on shouting out here on the podcast, the Nate Parker Film Foundation. If you are a Black or a brown POC person who's interested in creating film and telling the stories of just African-American history in America, dude, you should totally reach out to this program because it's connecting us all through our history. It is so powerful, so cool. You get to work with amazing people like Nate Parker, and it's not something that's bad to have on your resume. So you should totally check it out. I don't know when they'll have the next applications open, but you guys should just keep your eyes out for that. But that's just a little side note. We're here to talk about Starr and film and all the amazing things she has done. So Starr, welcome to the podcast. And let's just open up with you telling us a little bit about yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Starr Rivers. I'm from Texas, but I'm Atlanta based. I am an actress, storyteller, and filmmaker. I tell stories. That's what I do. That's my passion in whichever way, whichever form. I want to tell stories about my people. I want to tell stories that uplift and bring joy and educate as well. And so I'm just an overall creative and lover of people. That's who I am.
I can vouch for that in the little time that I've known Starr. She is 100% portraying herself. So, Starr, I want to know, did you know that film was something that you always wanted to do? Because I know a lot of young people, and I feel like our generation is changing this, feel like they have to know what they want to do, or even our parents or the people who came before us make us feel like you have to be in college, you have to do things this way, there's a pathway and you have to take that pathway because it's the traditional pathway, and some of us have done that and we've arrived at a point where we're like, no, we don't want to do that anymore. So things are changing, but when you think back to who you were maybe like 4 or 5, even 6 years ago, did you always know that film was something you wanted to do?
It wasn't always something I knew that was the path I was going to take. I knew it was an interest of mine. I knew I always loved acting. I know that I was always a writer. I was a writer before anything. So I love to write stories. That's what I would do. And then just as I grew up and time progressed, I came to love film. And in fact, like you said, we don't know what we're going to do. I went into college, my first 2 years of college, I was a journalism major, which, yeah, I mean, I love journalism and I love doing that. But like in the middle of, college, I said, this is not what I really want to do. And like you said, like your parents and like, there's all these other influences. And I took the time to really say, hey, that's not what I want to do. And I switched over to to be a film major. So I went from journalism to film. I still minored in mass communication, but I changed over to a film degree. So, I figured it out along the way.
I am laughing because, girl, the reason I did that is because your story is so similar to mine. Like, why haven't we been talking more? This is ridiculous. We only talk on social media, but we need to be talking more because I started out doing storytelling, writing on my computer. That's where you always find me, telling stories on my computer or reading books about stories and trying to rewrite those stories for some reason. I was like obsessed with them. But then it actually wasn't until recently that I got into film, like the last probably 3 or 4 years of my life. But I never, ever looked at film like that. And then the other thing is I went to school for journalism too. And I was like, no, dude, I took this one media communication class and I kept failing. It was like a review class where you're supposed to be writing reviews for like plays. And so we had to go see these plays at Playhouse Theater here in Cleveland. And every time I wrote a review, my professor was like, what are you doing? This is not it. And I got so frustrated with that class. I quit that class. And I did still take some journalism courses, but what I ended up doing was minoring in communication and then making creative writing the more focused part of my writing. But That's so funny. We have a very similar story. So every person listening, every student listening, you do not have to have it figured out, because it, like, even hearing our stories and who we are now, it's all a process. You kind of got to walk through something, and you really do got to go and see about it first. Like, even if you don't know, trying it out can really help you come to terms with what you want to do. Star, let's talk about what you recently did. You recently wrote, acted in, and helped direct a short film called Day 74. This short was filmed during COVID, y'all. COVID, virtually, everything virtually. And I personally watched the film and I thought it was amazing. So tell us where the idea of that film came from.
Yeah, so basically the Nate Parker Foundation reached out to alumni. So I'm a part of the class of 2019 Nate Parker Foundation Film Institute. So that was summer of 2019, and then 2020 the pandemic hits, and then summer of 2020 happens. They don't have a new class to come in. They're not doing the Film Institute. So they reached out to alumni to virtually do a project. And they didn't really explain the details to us. They just said, hey, we want you guys to talk about your experiences in the pandemic. Recently, we had seen, we had lost our brother George Floyd. We had seen that happen, and we were seeing, the uprisings here in America, and all of that was happening. They reached out to us in like June of 2020, so about a year ago. And yeah, so they wanted us to reflect on our experiences in the pandemic, and we had limited resources. They said, you can't cast, a 20-person short film. We're social distancing. We're not, so you got to get creative. And so I said, I need 1 to 2 characters. That's just what I started with. And I said, but what do you want these characters to say? What kind of story, what kind of relationship? And I knew that I was in a relationship at the time of the pandemic, and that, influenced a lot. And that was a lot of, trials and tribulations. So I just wanted to, to show a couple who lived together because they could be in one room. I was thinking about the constraints of what we could do. And so I wanted to talk about a couple and how that would have effect on them. But most importantly, I wanted to talk about 2 specific things. I wanted to talk about the healthcare community and what we were seeing with COVID, with frontline workers and nurses, specifically Black nurses, and just, nurses who are people of color. And then I wanted to speak on Black men and how they may be feeling with what was happening with George Floyd. And so I brought a couple together. I wrote a couple who, one, she's a nurse, she's a frontline worker in the heat of the pandemic. And then he is a documentarian, Darius, May and Darius. Darius is a documentarian, and he's not working because of COVID, but the death of George Floyd has an effect on him. And so that's how I came up with the film Day 74. And I wrote it, and they gave us a deadline, and they picked the 2 films that they felt like we could work with and do the best. And mine was one of them. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. And let me just tell you, so I watched your film for the first time when they debuted at the Pan-African Film Festival. That was the first time that I saw it. And can I just say, you did the Black love part so well. That was my favorite part. I was over here they are too cute for me, honey, too cute. But then also tying in the everyday things that were happening in the pandemic with the nurse and how I don't want to tell the story, but basically when she came home, the things that she had to do because of the pandemic. And then it's you did it so well in such a short time with developing their love and then running into the conflict, which again, I don't want to spoil the story. You guys are going to have to go and see it. Oh no, hold on one second, Star. Why? Somebody just called me. I'm sorry. Let me put whoever is editing this, I'm so sorry. Just edit that part out, please, because somebody called me. Okay. Anyway, I believe you did it so well with building up their romance and them being together, and then approaching the conflict of George Floyd and COVID. It was so intense, dude, especially the ending part. I was feeling for both of them. I was I see where she's coming from, but I also see where he's coming from. And it's I don't even know if there could be any compromise right here because they're both so strong subjects. But then the way that the video is done through different perspectives using cameras, like digital cameras, but also phone cameras. Talk to us about the filming process, and well, we know why that choice was made because it's COVID, but like, how did that work? It seems like something so complicated to do.
Yes. So when I wrote it, I knew we were just gonna have two people in a room, but I had no idea how they were gonna film it. We didn't know who we were gonna cast. We didn't know any of that. And so some of the producers, particularly Tracy Twinkie Bird, who is an NPF mentor, had the idea, let's actually film this in LA. I'm not in LA, but let's film it in LA. We'll get James Bland. He's another NPF mentor. He's a director. He's an actor himself, but he's a director mostly known for his series Giants. And so we'll get him to direct, and we'll get a real life acting couple to do this, because then we don't have to worry about necessarily like the COVID protocols because they live together. So that happened, and we were able to get Michelle Michinor and Mustafa Speaks. They're two well-known actors, husband and wife. And yeah, we were able to get them to come in. And so there's a reason we made Darius a documentarian. So we decided to have him basically document him and his partner in the film. Their partners are not necessarily married. His partner and him's COVID experience. And so with that, we were able to make it look like he was filming everything or she was doing it on her phone. We've kind of seen that a couple times in like different TV and film things where it's like them recording. That's become like a really big thing. And so that was our idea from the start. The entire NPF virtual summer project was, we'll make it look like that. That way we don't really have to worry about COVID and stuff like that. So we'll do it as if more of like a documentary. Yeah.
So that's why they had all that chemistry. They were husband and wife. Cause I was like, hold up, like I'm mad invested in this short film. 100%. Okay. It all makes sense. I thought that was just good acting, and it was, but it's also like, yeah, we do this off screen too, y'all. We do this Black love thing off screen. Okay, changing gears a little bit. Let's talk about, as a storyteller, what kind of stories do you look forward to telling and why?
Yeah, that's such a fun question because I mean, I have so many ideas, but really, like I said, kind of at the beginning, I want to tell stories that uplift our community. That's what I'm about. I've always been an avid film watcher. I love to go and be entertained and sit back and have that experience. And I love to leave a film or be done watching a TV series and be inspired, be educated, be like fired up. And I think I just want to invoke that feeling in other people. And I want to invoke that feeling in, I know, little Black girls, because I love when I could watch a film and I see someone who looks like me and she's the leading lady, or she has, a really big role and she gets to shine. And I think that's just what I want to do. I just want to make us shine. And there are so many stories that we have, and I'm still learning. I'll see on Instagram or I'll see in an article something I never knew about my own people. And that really, resonates with me. And so I know that I want to be a voice for those who didn't have a voice, for my ancestors, for people who came before me. Not only for Black people, but for all people of color, for all marginalized groups. There, for a long time, they have not been able to use their voice freely. And so I know that's really where my drive is. I just want to be a voice for them.
And what an awesome tribute to people who are marginalized, because like you said, they don't get to tell those stories a lot. And we've had several groups of people on the podcast who are also interested in telling these stories, specifically in the Filipino community. A lot of people don't even know what goes on with them. In the Asian community, we talked to a couple people just about what it's like to be here in America, to be Filipino, to be Filipino, and to identify differently sexually, and how all of those things come into play. We don't get to see those stories, even when we're talking about sexual identity and culture and all of that. We just don't get to see those faces, that skin color. So 100%, that mission is really admirable, and not just for Black people, like you said, because I'm that person too. I'm like, yes, Black stuff, like 100%, we're gonna elevate our stuff. But then I also believe in reaching back and pulling forward other people who don't look like me but are also marginalized as well. So you talked about watching TV and seeing that character that shines and how you want to create things that shine. And I love that. But would you say your understanding of watching that character that shine, like growing up, is that why you got into acting? Like, why did you choose that as something you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I started acting when I was 11 years old. I just joined my like junior high theater. Well, actually, the theater director like found me, and she was looking for someone who could like dance well. It's so funny because the production was Alice in Wonderland, and she needed someone to be the Cheshire Cat, and she wanted someone who could dance well. So she saw me at one of the school dances, and she was like, "Have you ever thought about doing theater acting?" I was like, "Yeah, I've thought about it. I've done like I used to do like oral interpretation, which is like you read books or plays and you like act it out. So I used to do that like as like really small as a kid. So I always enjoyed kind of like or an orative performance or any kind of performance. I've always been that kind of kid, like a performative kid. So, started theater when I was 11 and I just fell in love with it. I mean, there's really, that's, the story to it. I love the art of it. I love the craft of it. I love becoming a character and really embodying them well, and just being able to explore, just being an artist in general. And so that's how I fell in love with acting. And it's just been something that stuck with me. And just now, after being in Nate Parker Foundation, after going through that experience, I realized that I wanted to do it seriously and become an actual working actor.
Yeah, I embodying characters is so hard. Like, it honestly wasn't until we met Nate and I heard how he does his process of embodying a character, by just pretty much doing research on this character, and kind of coming to terms. And some of it he even had to make up himself about the character because the writer didn't include those things, but just having to make up certain things so that he can really truly embody the character. And it's so funny you said that. I tried out acting for the first time, like on film with MPF as well. And I was like, wait, I can kind of do this. Like, I don't know, girl. Like, I don't know if I'm actually gonna do it, but just being there, and instead of going to the writers group, I chose acting because I was just like, just do something different. I don't know why I did that, girl, but I did it. And I was in one of the films, and it was like a crazy experience where people were like affirming me and saying, you did really well. Like, I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. I just didn't think that I could do that. But 100% MPF definitely held my hand through that. So I totally understand what you mean by that. But I think I think I'm kind of on the fence about it because it's such a hard career to do. Like, I admire people like you who are like, I'm about to do this full time. This is my thing, because it's not easy to change your expression to, like you said, get inside the character's head and make yourself cry on cue and all of those things. I actually had Isaac, who's a part of MPF. He was trying to teach me how to cry on cue one time on FaceTime, and it was a fail. I just kept busting out laughing. But it's like, it's a whole talent to really learn, a whole skill, excuse me, to learn and really I don't know. It's like, it's about more than being seen and being platformed. But I know that actors, and I'm gonna say actors like you, really take it to heart about the stories that are being told through the characters that you are. Like, I don't even know how to go into depth. All I know is that I've been watching behind the scenes stuff, and I'm like, wow, people really put in work to really give us a show. And it's not something where we can, people just brush off certain art and just say like it's easy to do certain stuff. But acting, it's not it's not for the faint-hearted. I don't know. That's just how I feel. What would you recommend to someone who's interested in acting? Like, how should they get started? I know you said you started out when you were young, maybe even accidentally, maybe. But what would you recommend for somebody who's intentionally looking to become an actor or actress?
Yeah, so I agree with everything you said. It's a process. It really is. And I think what I really like about acting is kind of like writing. Like I told you, I was a writer first, and how you can take these different avenues, right? And see where it takes you. And acting is kind of the same way. Like, even though someone else has written it and written the lines, there's still so many different ways. The way I say a line may be interpreted differently than how you would think that line is said. So there's just so much creativity there. And I think it's almost like I'm writing my own story. So like how you said, Nate comes up with things about the character. You have to, because you have to make them a full person. And so that's like what I like about it. And if, you know, my advice to someone who wants to start out or get started is just, I don't know, join a class. That, you know, that's actually a really good question. You know, I don't think about that, but yeah, I would find maybe in my area a theater program, because that's where I started. That's where my, you know, love for it is. And that's, theater has a lot of community to it. There's community theater out there. So wherever you are, whether you're in a small town or a big city, theater is probably there in some form or fashion. And if there's not, start your own play, like start your own theater company, or your own, you know, just production of a play, because there's so many plays out there. So all you have to do is get the characters and get people going, and you can do a play production on your own. So I guess I love theater at heart. So I would tell people to start with theater. But if you want to get into film and things, I mean, social media it's crazy. TikTok and Instagram, it's almost like there's so much film like avenues there and storytelling out there. Like a lot of people on TikTok are actors. They don't even know it, but they're actors. You're acting on there. Like those type of TikTok videos where you see people, you know, getting into that character, doing like an audio, they're acting. They're not being themselves. So I would say even start there. There's like monologue challenges on TikTok. People do them. So they'll take a monologue like from a movie, like a Will Smith monologue or something, and people will perform them. And they'll, you know, I've seen tons of those. So that's a good place to start as well, just like on TikTok or on Instagram, wherever. And yeah, that's a great place to start.
I love TikTok. Oh my gosh. I love TikTok. I love the TikTok actors. There's specifically this girl who looks like Taraji P. Henson, and she's doing like all Taraji's if I find the name, I think I follow her. I'll send it to you. But she does like all scenes by Taraji P. Henson. And when I tell you she be on it, like she be on it, especially because she looks like her, it's so convincing. But you're 100% right. People who put thought into like, I'm gonna stand here, I'm gonna stand here, I'm gonna make the recording play right here. Like you are totally putting on a whole production by yourself. That's why I always say I can't really do TikTok the way you're supposed to do it, because those people are truly creative to be able to have these conversations with themselves and really create these worlds where we all are cracking up at home and just rolling on the floor laughing. But speaking of like technique and things like that, what type of genres would you be interested in acting in? Like when you think of yourself as an actor, what do you lean more towards? Thrillers, romances, comedies? What do you think?
Yeah, that's easy for me. Drama, all the drama, drama. Like I can't say it enough, drama. But I would love to do any, you know, kind of genre. I would love to do action. I would love to do comedy. I would love to do all kinds. Even sci-fi. I'm like really into like sci-fi stuff nowadays. So I would love to expand myself there, but I'll probably just start with drama, because that's kind of where my heart is. As far as like a writer, anything creatively I like to do is usually kind of a drama. So as an actor, same thing. Mhm.
Yeah, dramas are the best, honestly. Like the shows that I watch mostly are going to be dramas. I actually love K-dramas the most. The most, because they are next level dramatic. I mean, I just can't find anything like what I be watching. I'm just like, this is too much, honey, too much. But yeah, I 100% love sci-fis as well. I feel like we can use some more Black sci-fi stories, so I would love to see that from you and see you acting in them. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Star gets into as we keep up with you. So speaking of keeping up, how do you keep your acting skills up? How do you keep them sharp? Do you feel like you do something, especially during COVID, where not many of us had opportunities to be, working on our stuff because we were kind of dealing with the pandemic. But how do you stay on your toes with those skills?
Yeah, I definitely could be better. I definitely am, stretching my acting muscle and, trying to do something every day. You should be, if you're an actor, you should be trying to do something, some kind of, practice or some kind of, something to practice and keep that acting muscle fresh and, but yeah, I think a lot of there's different like things you can rehearse online. So like I said, there's monologues. There's been tons of monologue challenges on social media. It's basically doing your research and Googling and figuring out what you should do. So if you can get into acting class, get an acting class. I'm usually in class. I'm not in class right now just because I moved, but I'm currently working on getting back into class. So trying to be in class at least like once a week is great. Trying to find an acting coach or an acting group where you can, work with people. So acting class would be like number one, but number two, workshops. There's like different resources online. Like I like to use Richard Lawson Studios. He has great workshops like they do on the weekends. And they're, pretty inexpensive, but those are Zooms and you come in and there's a lot of like industry professionals in there. So I was in one last Saturday and it was Kim Coleman. She's a casting director. And some people, you paid extra to like for her to see your monologue, but I was just an observing student. So I just observed people doing their monologues and she gave feedback and Richard Lawson gave feedback. And that was just, a Saturday afternoon and they give such good notes. So that's just like one person who does workshops, Richard Lawson Studios. But yes, find workshops, find different webinars. I mean, during COVID, there were so many free ones, like at first, not so much anymore. But at first there were so many free ones. So that's like what I did. I joined webinars. Clubhouse is really big now. So I listen to Clubhouse conversations about acting. My mindset. I was just in a Clubhouse about mindset because that's really important as an actor or just any creative in this industry. Getting your mind right is really important. And so, yeah, I just say use what you have and do research, find different exercises you can do. Acting exercises are super, super helpful. There's tons online. So research, get in class, workshops. That's what I say to stay fresh and stay going and try new things. Yeah. So try different. So like how I said, I like to do drama. I need to do this, but I don't do it so much. But maybe next time I start practicing comedy monologues or like action kind of monologue, a different genre than I'm used to doing, which is drama, because I can do that all day. I can just like jump into that. But comedy, not so much. I'm kind of like, oh, so try different things, just stretch yourself.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that makes acting hard. It's always about stretching yourself. But I would venture to say that's probably across the board with creative content making, like filmmaking too, directing. Dude, you always have to be like trying to see what the next thing is and not necessarily even keeping up with other people, but just being like, okay, I know how to do this now. Now let me see what can I do that might be a little bit tougher or it might take me out of my comfort zone across the board if you're an artist, which I struggle with challenging myself too. So I'm like, girl, let's just keep it pushing. I've been doing this. I'm a creature of habit sometimes. I do not like the new stuff, but you're 100% right. We do have to try new things. So I wanted to ask you, as an actor, in the opportunities that you have had, especially even you're actually in Day 74, we see you in this film that you wrote. Do you find that you get nervous before scenes? And if you do, how do you deal with that nervousness? And if you don't, how do you stay confident?
Yeah. So I do get nervous for sure. Confidence is something, and I just want to be transparent. Confidence is one of the biggest things I struggle with in this. That's probably, my biggest hurdle right now as a new actor or green actor, even though I don't feel so green because I've been doing it since I was 11. But in film, I guess I'm a new like film actor. That's new to me. Yeah, I definitely like struggle with confidence. I realized when I did when I was in the Nate Parker Foundation, I didn't say this part, but when we did our 2019 film, Culture Shot, I was the lead in it. So I was in the acting, the acting group in the Nate Parker Foundation. And when they screened the film, I remember telling everybody, like, I don't want to watch myself. Like, I don't even want to look at myself. It's too much. It's like too scary. I'm the same with you, Chanda. I don't like to hear myself. I don't like to see myself. And I'm like, girl, then why are you acting? Like, what come on, Star. What? That don't make sense. How you don't like to see yourself or hear yourself, but you want to be an actor? So I think and that's what it is. I love the craft. And that's why theater was really good for me. But then film is like, oh, wow, you have to watch this back and critique and things like that. And so getting into film and doing being on film and being on camera, I definitely get nervous. I get super nervous. But what I do, I think, is I really just have to channel that energy into, and I know people hear that, but seriously, I have to channel that energy into my performance. Star's nervous, but you're not Star right now on camera. You're not. You're May. That's, my character in Day 74, who I wrote, who Michelle played. You're May right now. Or you're, so-and-so. You're not yourself. So you have to tell yourself they're not nervous. So you have to really get into what you're doing. And I think the way you gain confidence is very much that research you do as an actor, making sure you're just well prepared so that when it's time to go and when the cameras come on, you've been practicing and you've been researching so much, you just get into it. And you can be nervous, but you've done so much that nervousness doesn't even matter. You just perform so well. You perform at 200, or you practice at 200, and then when you're nervous, it'll bring you down to 120. So then you're just amazing and everybody loves you. So preparation is how I get over that nervousness, and just channeling it and knowing I'm not Star right now. So Star can be nervous, but my character is not nervous. So
I think that's really good advice. I'm definitely gonna use that moving forward in anything that I do. I'm gonna be somebody else. I'm going into this job interview. I'm somebody else. I'm not even me. So it doesn't even make sense to be nervous right now. No, but I honestly think that, I don't know, that's the most practical thing I've actually ever heard concerning any type of stage performance, acting, your different character, is you're not even you. So what are you nervous about? This isn't about Star being on stage. This is whoever else that I am. So I think, listeners, students, that is some super practical advice. Oh my gosh. Take that and run with it, tuck it into your back pocket and really use that. Because I definitely think it could take you far. So let's talk about generational kind of creatives right now, where we're at today in 2021. I would say me and you are from a generation where choosing a different path outside of the traditional one has become the new norm. A lot of us prioritize our creativity and pursuing our passions over working corporate jobs or 9-to-5s. Would you say this is where you're at as a creative, or have you been able to balance work and creativity? What are you leaning more towards these days?
Yeah, so about 6 weeks ago, I moved to Atlanta. So I was in Texas and I was living with my parents. So I have been living with my parents since I graduated college, which was 2019. So I lived with my parents for 2 years after college. I told my mom and dad I was not going to do that when I was in school, but I don't control what I say is going to happen. Didn't happen, which, I'm used to. God had different plans for me. He laughed at my plans. So for sure. So I was at home for 2 years. After NPF was just such a turning point for me. I always bring it up. But after NPF, I was like, I want to leave Texas. I want to go to either LA or Atlanta or New York. And, financially wise, Atlanta was the best place for me. And I have family here. So, that was my plan, in middle of 2019. But then pandemic happened. And anyway, I got here in May. So I'm new here, but gosh, what was I talking about? I even forgot the question.
That's okay. Just where do you lean more towards, creatively or
Right.
Sorry. Yeah. What do you lean more towards, creativity or working, or a balance of both?
Right. See, then I get rambling and then I forget. So my point was me moving here to Atlanta. I'm new to this Atlanta acting circle, acting industry. And so I do work another job that's not necessarily my, self-employed or freelance creative work. So my job does allow me flexible hours, so I can do projects, and I can go to things, and I can do auditions, and I can do self-tapes. But it is a balance. I do have to right now, if there's a project that I want to submit for, and it's during my work hours, unless I figure out something, I can't do it. And so that's something I'm really honest with myself with right now, that I'm just trying to get more practice. So a lot of projects, I have to do in the weekends, or I have to do in the evenings. And that's what I have to do right now. I know that's what I have to do with where I'm at, but I know one day that I won't be able to do that anymore. And so, like you said, our generation seems to be, getting away from the 9 to 5, which I don't even work a 9 to 5. I work from home. I'm super blessed to be in the situation I'm in, but I think, I'm not looking at, well, this person over here is doing this or this. Like, this person has a full-time job and they go to work every day and they're still like getting, successful in acting, or this person is a full-time TikTok creator, which is awesome. I wish I could do that or something. Or she's a full-time YouTube person, my dream, which I'm working towards. But right now, I know that this is my journey, and my journey is my journey. I'm not anybody else's. So definitely having to balance, but hoping one day, can shift gears and, focus more on my creative interests.
I love when you said my journey is my journey, because if I had to learn anything over the last 2 years, that's what I've had to learn. Like, love all of my film family. Everybody's doing things. I'm constantly like, oh my gosh, good job. I'm so proud of you. And you always have to, and me and Malcolm talked about this on Malcolm Lott, who's also part of NPF, was also on a podcast episode before yours. And we talked just a lot about riding your lane, like, and just being okay with that and knowing that your path is your path. And a lot of times we do get distracted, especially via social media, and we get to comparing ourselves and our timeline, and we don't get to see that that person walked this whole thing that you didn't get to see before you saw this Instagram picture or this Twitter post or whatever. So we have to remember that, we could be envying somebody else's stuff, but you can envy their progress, but what about their process, girl? You ain't see that. And it's like, you don't know if you would have been equipped to walk that part. And it's not even about equipped as in good enough, but I'm just saying equipped as in that's the plan and the pathway and the purpose for you. You might need to go about it a different way. And so students that are listening, that's one thing that I think when I think of industry, and you say NPF was a turning point for you, was also a turning point for me to even start thinking industry. One thing that I had to remember is that everybody's path is their own and mine is mine. And the way that it's going to happen is going to be so creative, so divine. And I don't have to lean so much on like the patterns and footsteps of other people. So thank you for saying that, Star, because y'all have to remember that, oh my gosh, you already deal with depression and anxiety at whatever level that you deal with in life as a human being. And if you go down that pathway of like, why is it happening for them and not me? And you stay there, y'all, it's going to be a dark, dark, dark situation. And I don't want that for any of you listening in. So if I had to say one thing to take away from this today, thank you, Star, for bringing it up, is your path is your path and you got to walk that thing. Okay. Star, let me ask you something. What does being a Black filmmaker mean to you? Do you feel a certain responsibility to tell specific stories or act in certain roles geared towards Black culture?
I do. And I know, people feel differently about this. I know other Black, creatives and Black filmmakers and actors may feel different. And no, I don't want every project I do to be very like Black centric or, super like has to be this empowering like social justice movement or anything. Because that's not the only way to bring, humanize, our community and share our stories. But I do feel a responsibility in some way. Like I said before, I want to be a voice for the voiceless. I want to be a voice for those whose voices were stifled and snuffed out and quieted. And I want to share their stories that, they could have shared, but someone told them that they didn't have the right to. And so that's the responsibility I feel, as I'm not just a creative. I'm not just an artist. I feel, that I have the purpose on this earth. And I believe that, like, I'm an empath, and I want to help other people. I want to make other people's path easier. I want to shape other people's lives in a positive way. That's really the impact I want to make. And so in order to do that, I do have a responsibility to tell these stories, because if we don't, nobody else will. That's just the facts. And we've learned that time and time again. If you don't see a need if you don't see you represented, if you don't see a story, that needs to be told and needs to be shared, being done, if you don't see yourself in what you love, you have to do it. You have to go after it. And so I've learned that, and that's a responsibility I feel, and I know that's what I'm going to do.
Yes, it actually reminds me when we had Nate on the podcast, one thing he said is that you don't tell the stories for the critics or for the accolades or for the awards. You tell a story for the person who's coming behind you that needs to see that so that they can tell the next level of stories that will also help other people. And so when you think of yourself as a creative, like, yes, it's nice to be seen and to get appreciation and things like that. But I think at the core, you literally have to be telling stories to help other people, because the accolades and the critics, I mean, sometimes that stuff can just be very negative, very Hollywood, very industry, and it's not. But if you know that you told this story because this is going to free some people, this is a story that needed to be told, this is dialogue that needed to be had, then it doesn't matter what those other people say. And you're like, this is out there for the next person who needs to see it. I think that does give more purpose and just more empathy to what you're going to produce. And when you say empath, I said, oh, the blessed curse of an empath inside my head. Blessing and a curse, but because I'm that way as well. And to feel so deeply can be so amazing sometimes. And then other times it's like the worst thing ever. You constantly have to counsel yourself, like, don't take it personal, don't take it personal, don't take it personal if you're an empath. So 100%, I'm learning to balance those superpowers as well. So let's end on a fun note. Do you have any dream directors or actors that you like to work with? Who and why? Go ahead.
Ooh, I got a long list of people.
Go ahead. We want to hear the list.
But I'll bring a couple that come to mind. I tend to really like director writers, like people who write and direct. You don't have to do both, but I don't know. I tend to lean towards those projects. Like, I'll see something and I love it. I'm like, oh, they directed it and they wrote it. But directors, Ava DuVernay, Chanda Rhimes. Oh, I would love to be in Chanda Land. Chanda Rhimes. I don't know if she's a director, but she's a showrunner. Chanda Rhimes, and Misha Green. Some of these names you may not know. So students and listeners, look them up because they're amazing people. Misha Green, and Nzinga Stewart, Matthew Cherry, Ryan Coogler. I love Ryan Coogler. I would love to work with him. Lacey Duke. Those are a couple names. Yeah, it's a lot of like women. I want to work with like Black women. But there's a longer list, but those are some of the directors. And then acting. Oh, wait, let me go back to why those people. I just really am inspired by their projects. I like the way they tell stories. A lot of them is like drama. But I said Ryan Coogler, so he does drama, but like everyone knows him for like Black Panther. So Ryan's really cool about how he takes, like a Black story, but he can do it in any genre. He did Fruitvale Station. So he likes to tell our stories. He likes to uplift us in that way. And so that's why I like Ryan Coogler. But yeah, I just like all those, those people's works. They write and then they direct. And so I would like to work with them in that way. Yeah, Misha Green did Lovecraft Country. People know. So if you like Lovecraft Country, see, is like getting into the kind of like horror sci-fi kind of thing. And then actors, Issa Rae, just because she's like a, you know, do it all like herself. And I'm just so inspired by that. So Issa, Viola Davis, because I feel like she's like my like acting mom that like I look up to. So Issa, Viola, Jarrell Jerome, he was in When They See Us. He won an Emmy for that, and I just really love his work, and I'm so inspired by him. Omari Hardwick, I just like everything he's in. Coleman Domingo, look at these names, guys. India Moore from Pose. I like how she's a advocate for other people. She's an advocate for the trans community. She speaks out loud, and so that's why I want to work with her, not necessarily like because of like what she's done on screen, which is great, but like her heart. So I would love to work with, and I'm using her the pronouns wrong, them. I would like to work with them. Marseille Martin. I don't know if anyone knows who Marseille Martin is. She's from Blackish. And she was in Little. Anyway, love her. Daveed Diggs, he was in Hamilton, and I think that's it. See, I have a long list. Yeah, and the list goes on, but those are just a couple names that like come to my head. But I want to work with people who have same values as me, and I just also just think are dope on screen, and they show out in their performance. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you named a lot of great people. I didn't know everybody, but I definitely caught some of those names in there. But I definitely, to your point of working with people who are who you can collaborate with on the same ideas, the same values, like 100%, that's important, because what are we doing it for at that point? You know, if we can't like we said, leave something for those who come after us, then we have to collaborate on the things that we agree with. So 100% look up these people that star. I need to do some research myself. I'm about to hop on Google after this call, because I'm like, Chanda, why don't you know these names? But that's that stretching that I don't allow myself to do, because I'm a creature of habit. I need to stretch and be aware of and see all these different amazing people out there making amazing content. And I could totally see you working with these people, Star, because you are a person who is not just about the art, but you're about the change in the culture. And that's 100% important, especially now where so many things are going on in the world. But let's wrap up, which I hate wrapping up because I feel like this could go on for like 2 more hours. But I'm so thankful that we got to have you on. This is Starr Rivers, everybody. Starr, go ahead and let us know, where can we find you on social media? What platforms are you on?
Yeah, so I should be on social media more, but basically you can find me on Instagram at the Starr Rivers. So my name is Starr with 2 R's, Starr. So the Starr Rivers, that's my Instagram. Find me there. You can also find me on Clubhouse if you're on Clubhouse. I've been more active on there now, but before I wasn't, and I'm just Starr Rivers on there. So yeah, find me on Instagram, and yeah, well, we can connect. So that's where you can find me and my work. So, oh, and you can also go to my website, which is starrrivers.com. Pretty easy. So yeah.
You have such a celebrity name. Like, I know that's probably like weird to say, but you do, like Starr Rivers. You know how they say,
I get that all the time. It's fine. I've gotten that my whole life. It's like, oh, Starr, is that your real name? Yeah, it's the name my mom gave me. That's the name.
It's the name my mom gave me. Yes, it's my name. I think it's the Rivers part. Like, I've never met, first off, I've never met a Black girl with the last name Rivers, to be honest. But also, yeah, Rivers itself, like they always get that give that to the heartthrobs in those romantic books. It's always like Brett Rivers, Brock Rivers, like Brody Rivers. Like they always do that. So I think that's like where my head goes. But anyway, awesome name in itself, awesome person. And I know you're going to create some awesome things in the industry. Everyone, please keep a lookout for Starr Rivers and all of the work that she is doing. Don't forget to also check out her short film Day 74, which is available on YouTube. You can check it out there. And then also go ahead and hit up her social media, y'all. Get her some followers and just follow her work, because she is an awesome person. I promise you won't regret it. She also does really cool reels. I think you did reels, or was that TikTok?
No, it's reels. I'm not TikTok. I feel old. I ain't got TikTok yet, but I'm gonna master TikTok. But I do some reels on Instagram. Yes.
She has really cute reels, guys. You should totally follow her. And thank you so much for going on this journey with us. Thank you for being on, Star. Hey, if you're listening in, don't forget to connect with us on socials, which is Instagram and Facebook at artofme.org, our website, www.artofme.org. And if you like this episode, please rate, review it, and subscribe and share it because it really helps us out a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next podcast episode. Bye.